Can you tell us a little bit more about your experience of tiredness and having poor concentration? How did that affect you?
Tiredness was affected me very badly. Very badly. I'd be talking to somebody and just feel tired all of a sudden. And concentration just went straight out the window. I couldn't make eye contact with people at first. And because that would just tire me out.
What about when you're in quite busy places, if you were around a lot of people? Did that distract you a lot? Was your concentration worse?
If I'm in a group of people and having a conversation, you know, in a pub or something like that, if two people are talking to me at the same time, I'd be switching from one to the other all the time, trying to concentrate and talk to the person that's talking to me instead of just waffling around all the place, wandering around all the place.
And how is that affecting you now? Have you overcome that?
Pretty much, yes. I'm now, well, practice. I've learned to concentrate on one person all the time now. Making eye contact's getting better, describing things, keeping the same subject going, as opposed to switching one subject from another, which I used to do quite a lot.
And the concentration and the tiredness, did that affect your ability to do things like driving?
Oh, I'm not allowed to drive because the concentration would be terrible. I don't know if I could concentrate on the road properly, so I just don't drive at all now. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the hardest things about the whole situation, because I used to love driving. Now I just can't do it at all, because of my concentration. Right.
Can you tell me a little bit about how the concentration difficulties that were affecting your mood, how you were feeling about yourself at that time?
Not being able to concentrate really made me low sometimes, because again I wanted to having a conversation with somebody was very hard without losing concentration or keeping on the same subject sometimes. It was very hard, and so I get frustrated with myself because I couldn't talk to somebody properly. But then I worked on that by talking to people as much as I could about different subjects all the time.
So you were thinking the concentration, the mood, yes, they were all linked together?
Yes, definitely, absolutely, definitely.
So the combination of things for you?
Absolutely, yeah.
What was the most important thing that you've learned from all of this?
Concentration.
Mm-hmm.
To stop and think before I do something and say something.
So just slowing yourself down,
that's exactly
taking your time.
When I'm talking, sometimes I was going into rabbit mode, mm-hmm. Speed, talk too fast. Mm-hmm. But then as I think about it and slow down.
Do you still have some times when you feel yourself, your mood is going, you know, not as good as it should be, and when you stop yourself and
it's
look
not as
back
bad as
on
it used
that?
to be. It's not as bad as it used to be. Because now I know I've got a good method of dealing with things, and when something starts, if I start getting annoyed about something, you know, when the kids is doing something annoying, I stop and think, why are they doing that? Mm-hmm. And then I just think, oh, it's just one of them things that kids do. You know?
So it's almost like you've learnt to monitor yourself.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Mm-hmm.
The other thing that was just completely terrible was memory. You know, remembering just the names of family members, people I was very close to, passwords, things like that. It was just incredibly frustrated. Mm-hmm.
So all your thoughts were intact, the speech wouldn't come out?
Yeah, the thoughts weren't intact. I mean, putting thoughts together was very difficult. That was just incredible. Just to do any lineal thinking was a real challenge. And what would tend to happen is when you try to talk and get words out, you get more frustrated. The people you're trying to talk to, you can see they're getting more frustrated. Mm. So you get more frustrated, so you lose more words. And so it's just a vicious circle. And obviously when you've had a brain damage where you've got cognitive issues, normal people look at you think you're absolutely fine. Mm. But what's going on here until you try to speak or you try to remember something, then people start to notice that, you know, things aren't 100% right.
Mm. So because you'd been in hospital for a short time, when did other people notice that you had these cognitive issues?
Well, when you would meet them, basically straight away. I mean, people knew I'd had the stroke, and so when you met them, whether they're friends or colleagues that were used to come to the house, that you would know instantly that you know, Neil really couldn't speak at all properly, a proper sentence, and that was. But as I said, physically, if you saw me walking down the street, absolutely fine. He looks absolutely great. But I was at the service, and the church we went to for the Christmas service, they put the words of the songs up in the wall so you could see it, so you didn't have to have the sheet. And I can honestly remember, I can close my eyes now, I can still remember looking at the words. And I was trying to sing, and I couldn't sing, and I just couldn't get the stuff out of the words. And I remember seeing the speech therapist, I think the next day after that, and explained that, and she says, that doesn't sound right. And so she then had a conversation with my GP, and she'd obviously picked up there was other issues going on apart from speech. And it was from that I got referred to a neuropsychologist.
Sort of like pen and paper tests.
Pen and paper, things like that, absolutely, yeah, and various things that he did. So that we did that for about 6 weeks, and at the end of that, he sat down, and my wife came to that meeting, and basically he said, "Look, I've done all these, and this is where you are from a cognitive point of view." And what came out of that was the two main areas that I'd been affected very badly was what's called divided attention and memory, parts of memory, as well as some emotional effects that were happening. And that really was kind of a huge light coming in my mind, because then I could start to understand why I was unable to do the things I used to be able to do. And so divided attention, as I was explained to, that you can't do more than one thing. Now, what I mean by that is if you were to give me a newspaper and I had to read it out aloud, I couldn't do that. Now, prior to the stroke, obviously I could do that. And that, even though it seems a very subtle thing, is a real crucial skill to have in whatever you do, especially if you're in a business, as I used to do. And so that was... it was just great to understand why I was struggling with those sort of things. And the other bit was to do with memory. And again, today I still struggle with memory. And the only way I can explain how that is, it's like I'm constantly living in the now. So there's something that could have happened yesterday, could have happened 5 years ago, and vice versa.
You were mentioning a little bit about your thinking skills after the stroke. How did that side of it affect you?
My thinking skills were, if I was in any sort of company, or if people came in, visitors came in, and talking to them, I would lose the words I was looking for. It would just blank. And I used to get I felt quite embarrassed. You know, I really felt quite ashamed of it in a way, because I felt stupid, you know, and I didn't know quite how to deal with it. And I suppose it was stupid, because these people all knew I had had a stroke, but I was trying to be normal. And when this happened and I couldn't understand, it annoyed me, it frustrated me, because I suddenly couldn't remember words.
So it was a little bit of thinking issues, some memory issues as well?
Yeah, my memory, you know, quite a lot of it was memory. Quite a lot of it was memory as well. And then my writing skills, well, I mean, they were just a scribble. And then even when it started to form words, I still felt I couldn't really do what I used to do. You know, good technique.
How's your memory now?
Memory's quite good. I still have times when I forget things, but once again, I don't panic about it. I'm quite determined, and I'll keep thinking and thinking till I get it again, you know. And if it's when I'm speaking to someone, I just do the, it will come back to me. Pass it off.
But then we all do that.
Yeah, well, you see, this was another thing that was explained to me, that everyone can do that, but when you've had a stroke and you can't come up with a word, you think automatically it's because of the stroke. And I'm sure, you know, I was told you've probably said that before to someone in a conversation, oh, it will come back to me. But you didn't take up this attitude of, oh dear, that's because I can't remember it now.